Hey guys, what's up? It's Gina. I'm here to do my review for the second book in LJ Smith's Night World series called Daughters of Darkness. If you don't know what the Night World is, or you did not watch my first review on the first book, Secret Vampire, you can look at the description over here on this side, and I will put a short description of what the Night World is and what it's about, just so that I don't waste time on the video since I only have 10 minutes. Now, if you watched the first review, you might remember that I talked about a very important character that was introduced in the first book named Ash Redfern. And Ash is a vampire, and he was warned by his vampiric brother, cousin, that is, James, in the last book that one day he was going to learn to care about somebody, and it was really going to hurt a lot. And that does happen in Daughters of Darkness. And the person that he cares about comes in the form of a teenager, a high school student named Mary-Lynette Carter. She lives in a small town in Oregon called Briar Creek, and it's a very small town. It's very slow. Nothing exciting really happens there at all, but it's a really great town because LJ Smith really gives it a lot of personality with some of the smaller characters that she introduces, like Mary-Lynette's friend from school who works at the gas station named Jeremy, and the kind of quirky store clerk Bunny Martin. These little characters, they don't, obviously do much. They're background characters, but they give the town and the setting a lot of personality, so it's actually really fun to read about. But Mary-Lynette is the neighbor of an elderly woman named Opal, and she's very friendly with Opal, and Opal tells her one day that her nieces, Rowan, Kestrel, and Jade, are coming to visit. Now, it turns out that Rowan, Kestrel, and Jade are actually Ash's sisters. They are vampires, and they escaped from their home, and Ash was sent to bring them back. And so he decides to scope out Mary-Lynette's family, since they are their neighbors, and so he can figure out what they've been doing, if they've been breaking Night World laws, or, what they've been up to. And so when he meets Mary-Lynette, that's when everything starts to kind of break down for him, and we really start to see the story kick into high gear. It's hard for me to talk about the story in this one, just because if I do, it's really going to spoil everything, so I'm trying to kind of dance around the plot and just talk about the other great points of the book. One of them is the character development. The sisters, Rowan, Kestrel, and Jade, are not the main characters, but they are very important, and they are developed very well. You really get a sense for each one of their personalities. They're very different, but they work really well together as sisters. We get to see more about Ash than what we learned in the first book. We get to see him interact with his family. We get to see a lot of his inner monologue and his inner thoughts. And so it's also really satisfying for anyone who read the first book and is a fan of Ash to really see how he progresses throughout this book. So besides the characters in the town, another thing that I really love about the story, and this is something that I really wanted to hit on in this video, is that the relationship between Ash and Mary-Lynette is not your typical romance. Now, if I say anything beyond that, it will most definitely spoil the ending of the book, and it'll spoil a lot of other stuff. I don't want to do that, obviously, but please trust me when I say that this is one of those stories that doesn't always necessarily have a happy ending, which I actually really love, because, a good love story is nice, but in real life, not everything always comes out to a happily ever after, and that's what I love about LJ Smith, is that her stories, it doesn't always turn out that way. Anyway, besides that, the book also introduces a couple of really key points in the story. One of them is we get to learn more about vampiric society. We get to see the type of place that Ash and his sisters come from, and we get to learn that that's not the only type of vampiric society. We get to learn about werewolves. We see our first werewolf for the first time in the series in this book. We get to learn about how the rest of the Night World views them, the rituals and rules and stuff that they have to follow. And we even get to learn how people are turned into werewolves. So it's also a very good learning experience for any werewolf fans of the Night World, or to just introduce werewolves into the series. And the third thing that we get to learn about is another fairly important character. He's not as big as Ash, but he's pretty close if you ask me. He's another vampire, and his name is Quinn. Now, Quinn is sent along with Ash to Briar Creek to make sure that Ash succeeds in his mission of bringing his sisters back, because it does involve Ash's family. The vampire elders thought that it would be smart to send someone else along with Ash as sort of insurance to make sure that he does the job. Now, I'm not going to really reveal what you learn about Quinn or what his personality is like. All I will tell you about Quinn is that when you read the story and you see him exit the story towards the end of the book, he really leaves you with the feeling of, well, what happened to him? What is it about him? I want to learn more, which is a very good thing, because in the fourth book in the Night World series, The Chosen actually does involve him pretty centrally, and he also appears in a couple of other books as well, and is mentioned throughout a bunch of other books as well. He happens to be a very famous vampire, which I'll discuss in the review for The Chosen, but it's also good, again, just like Ash and Secret Vampire, it's good to see where Quinn as a character begins and where he starts, so that you can really understand the significance of his transformation and him growing as a person and developing as a character. So this is, again, one of my favorite books in the Night World series, and I own it in 2 different versions. This is the first version and my favorite. This is the original 1996 softcover print, 228 pages, and it's probably my favorite cover in the entire Night World series. This is Ash right here, and he's looming over his 3 sisters. That's Rowan, that's Kestrel, and that's Jade. And that's Jade's pet cat, Twiggy. And Tiggy, that is. Not Twiggy, Tiggy. And I think that it's, the cover is colorful. I think the art is really well done. And what I find really interesting about the cover is that Mary-Lynette is not on the cover, which I think is kind of interesting, to not have the main character of the book on the cover of the book. But I think it also kind of really hits home the point that I wanted to make with the book, was that it's what happens to Ash in the book that really affects what goes on in the Night World for the rest of the books to come. So I have that, and then this is probably what you'll find in bookstores today. This is the first Night World Omnibus. This has the first 3 books in the series to it: Secret Vampire, Daughters of Darkness, and Spellbinder. This is how you'll probably find it. It's only like $9–10. It's a very good deal for the 3 books, and you should definitely pick it up. It's a very good introduction into the Night series, these first 3 books, into the Night World. So that's my review and commentary on Daughters of Darkness, and the next time I'm going to be reviewing the 3rd book. So Secret Vampire has introduced us to vampires. Daughters of Darkness gave us our first taste of werewolves, and now the 3rd book, Spellbinder, is going to introduce us into yet another facet of the Night World and another type of creature that dwells there. And by the title of the book, you might be able to figure out exactly what that is. But if you don't, I will keep it suspenseful until the next review, which will be for Spellbinder. So thanks for watching, happy reading, and I'll catch you guys next time.